Hi, I'm Jake Erickson from flowcampaigns.com,
And I'm Jennie Erickson from theNiftyNetworker.com.
and this is the Midlife Solopreneur Daily Debrief. Without Steve Erickson, the Midlife Solopreneur.
We're giving him a rest tonight.
Yeah, he's been tied up in back-to-back meetings, so we thought we'll give him the night off and we'll actually do the podcast together.
Yeah, first time.
Yeah. So in this daily podcast, we share some helpful tips and strategies that you can use in your business, and we share what we've been working on in the Midlife Solopreneur business, so you can follow along with our journey there as well. So, Jenny, what have you been working on today?
Well, if you'll allow me, I'm going to have a bit of a Friday evening rant, if
Oh
I
boy,
may. Yeah,
can't wait.
just a bit, nothing too much. I want to address messy messaging.
hmm
I've been in some networking meetings this week, and oh gosh. Messy messaging. When I took messy messaging, it's about not understanding what somebody says. And in the spirit, I've mentioned this before, in the spirit of networking, in order for me to be a good ambassador for somebody, I have to understand what they're saying. I can't leave the meeting not knowing what they do, because then I can't be a good ambassador for them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, today it just seemed a particular meeting that I went to, there was a lot of messy messaging going on. First of all, there was a lady speaking. We all had a 2-minute opportunity to talk about what we did. And she spoke for about a minute, and she was talking. Actually, I won't mention what she was talking about, actually, but she'd finished speaking in about just over a minute.
Well, let's say she was speaking about a topic that uses a common word,
Yes.
but the word that we typically associate, or the thing we typically associate with this word, was not what it meant in this context.
No, exactly. So I was a little bit confused as to what she meant. And then she said, well, that's it. I'm finished now, and on to the next person. So I actually stopped her and I said, oh, if you don't mind, I actually didn't understand what you meant. And she was a bit surprised. And I think I was actually speaking for all of us in the room. Like, we all nodded and were being polite, but actually we didn't understand. And then when she explained, we got it. And all she did was explain it in very simple words. What she'd actually done was she'd been used quite sophisticated language in the first instance. But what she'd done by doing that is actually she'd alienated us. So none of us knew. So when she literally carried on with a few more simple words, we got it. And then we could talk a little bit about it and obviously understand.
Yeah, I think there are two key takeaways here. The first one is be aware of what jargon you use that other people might not be familiar with. If you're an expert in a certain field, and we're guilty of this as well. If you're an expert in the field and you know a lot about a certain topic, be aware that not a lot of people will. So when we're talking, for instance, about sales funnels, lead magnets, there's a lot of people out there who've just never heard those terms before.
Exactly.
And it's really important for us to bear in mind, so we're able to explain really concretely what something is.
Exactly.
And I think the other thing as well is, while it's important to have your messaging right, you also don't want to over-engineer it. What you'll find is that sometimes the most effective messaging is just stripping it way back, being super clear, using basic language, being succinct. And that comes across a lot better than trying to, jam pack everything you do into a 2-minute speech.
Exactly. And also, when you have a call to action in your messaging, ask for what you actually really want. And even if somebody in the meeting immediately can't help you, they may be one meeting away from being able to make a phone call or speak to somebody and put you in touch. But unless you're super specific about what you're looking for, people can't help you. And I've been in meetings before where people have said something I don't suppose anybody knows, and people have said, yeah, I do actually, or I know somebody that does. Unless you ask, you'll never know.
Yeah, definitely. You want to be as specific as possible in your call to action. So say, I'm really looking to make more connections in this industry. Please refer me to any of your friends who, work in that job, or something like that,
Exactly.
It can really vary. Typically in a lot of networking meetings, you won't want to, directly ask people to buy from you. You kind of need to figure out if there's a good connection and figure out the rules of the group, for instance.
And building up that know, like, and trust. If you're going to regular networking meetings and you're showing up and you're contributing to that know, like, and trust factor too. So, and just one final thing about this as well is a little, just to finish off my rant, and then I'll be all right afterwards, is just a little bit about the time that you have. I've spoken about it before in terms of the time you have allocated. You only have a certain amount of time for your messaging. when you're in a particular time sensitive meeting and somebody is on the clock, because somebody will, very kindly watch the clock for you in terms of how long you've got, from the get go, start talking about what you do, who you serve, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Again, a lady today, I won't even mention the country, for the first 30 seconds, she spoke about I am and I am from. And then she talked a little bit about where she was from, which was lovely. But then, of course, she lost 30 minutes of her
30
30
seconds.
seconds, even not 30 minutes, 30 seconds of her message.
Mhm.
But then what she did, because we were time sensitive and we were due back into a main room, what she did then was run over. And of course, that's then impacts on the rest of us being able to speak and stick within the time limits.
Yeah.
So
I mean, 30 seconds or 2 minutes is a quarter of your time just kind of gone to, talking about where you're from.
exactly.
And that, as you said, either eats into your message or eats into someone else's time when there's a very strict time schedule.
Exactly. So, potentially with three people still to speak, there could have been somebody being rushed at the end who was obviously sticking within the time frame. And there's plenty of time afterwards before you go back, if you're in a breakout group, before you go back into a main meeting,
Mhm.
to maybe say, hey, I'm from Canada or I'm from the US or wherever you might be from. But don't waste that opportunity. That 2 minutes goes by so quickly. And as I've mentioned before, 1 minute's 150 words, 2 minutes therefore is only 300 words. That's only just about half a page of
Yeah.
things you can say if you were to put that onto an A4 page. And of course, not that I'm advocating talking verbatim and reading verbatim, but certainly have a play around and see what 300 words looks like, because if that's a 2-minute opportunity, that's all you've got.
Absolutely.
Rant over.
Rant over. Cool. So that was it for us today. This was episode 54 of the podcast, and is September 18th.
Fantastic. And we would love it if you would like, rate, review, share, and subscribe. If you would, we'd be super, super grateful for that.
Cool. So we'll see you tomorrow, and Steve will be back tomorrow.
Absolutely, he will. Well rested and back with a vengeance.
Absolutely.